What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another podcast episode of Truth Podcast with your host, True Car. Today, I wanted to talk about boundaries and protecting your space and your energy no matter what is going on outside of you, whether that be chaos or other people's projections or whatever the case may be. I think it's important to learn how to protect yourself in different spaces, whether that be you around people that you don't necessarily like or don't necessarily want in your space, or whether it be at work, at school, or at home. I think it's important to learn how to protect yourself and protect your boundaries and protect, your emotions, or making sure that you stay in an emotional stable space, emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever the case may be, making sure that you are creating boundaries around those areas so that you can be the best version that you can be in any space, in any dynamic. And I think it's important to understand, for me personally, I use spiritual techniques. I use techniques that, especially as an empath, you have to learn how to, when you take on people's energy easily, when you're a sensitive, emotional person, or when you feel things easily, it's important to learn how to protect your space in different areas, in different spaces, because when you walk out of those different spaces, you feel completely drained. And I think it's important to understand the reason why you feel drained and full of anxiety or depressed when you walk out of different spaces, when around so many different people, is because you're not intentionally protecting your energy. You're allowing everybody to take a part of you. And I think it's important to understand, when it comes to boundaries, it's important to embody what you need in order to make sure that nobody is just taking from you. Nobody is just using you as a doormat or using your energy to their benefit, and you're not getting anything or receiving anything back. You're going in with a full cup and you're coming out with emptiness. And I think it's important to understand that. It's important to understand, when it comes to boundaries, when it comes to being around people that you don't necessarily want in your space, or you don't necessarily agree with, or whatever the case may be, or are people projecting onto you. I think it's important to understand, in those spaces, to have emotional discernment, and also have discernment on what you talk to those people about. Keeping it, if you know that you don't like people or you don't want to connect to people, even in a household, if you have to stay with people and you don't, and you've decided to cut them off, but they keep trying to interact with you, or whatever the case may be, I think it's important to make sure to create boundaries in that space of making sure to keep those conversations short, not sharing more than you have to with that person, not, you know, getting into, especially if you've already had conversations to where you told them how you felt, and you've decided to take that step to make sure that that relationship is no longer, to where you have cut them off and you set a clear boundary to where they understand that there is no coming back. I think it's important to understand that no matter how long it has been, to stand on that boundary, and making sure that you're not giving anything to that anymore. You have to embody what you are saying in order for it to be solidified. And I think that's important to understand. When it comes to boundaries, you have to embody it and you have to stand on it. And boundaries are not control mechanisms. Boundaries aren't something that you put out there for people to then show up differently for you. Boundaries are not something that you put out there for people to listen, and if they don't listen, you reinforce it. It's when you put a boundary out there, you stand on it and you do whatever you said you were going to do. If you said, okay, I can't continue to be treated like this because it's hurting me, so next time if I do get treated like this, I have to leave. You have to leave. You can't say, well, I told you not to treat me like this, so now I'm going to give you quiet treatment. No, it's about understanding to stand on your boundaries and cutting those people off when they don't respect your emotions or respect your space or respect your energy. And I think that's important to understand. And I think it's also important to be patient with yourself in your boundaries and allow yourself to move into your boundaries with ease and not try to force yourself to move into your boundaries. Be who you would want in a connection with yourself. The boundaries that you are putting in place should be something that you are doing for yourself as well. You should also be setting those same boundaries with yourself. You should also be saying, okay, if I do this, then if I need to be heard, I need to be heard by myself. If I need to be emotionally, you know, taken care of and nurtured, I need to nurture and emotionally take care of myself. I think it's important to understand what you are asking of from other people, you should also be doing that for yourself. That way you're not coming from a space of desperate, not coming from a space of being desperate, but coming from a space of needing others to be something for you because you're already that for yourself, and because of that you're not accepting anything less. And I think that's important to understand when it comes to setting boundaries and standing on those boundaries. But when it comes to boundaries, I think it's important to understand if you're around people that you don't want to connect to make sure that you keep it short and to make sure that you are not overexerting yourself trying to force people to hear you, to see you, to feel you, to be there for you. Allow people to show up as who they are. And if that is something that is not aligned with you as an individual, allow yourself to walk away. And walking away is painful, but I think it's important to understand it's something that is necessary sometimes to make sure that you are staying protected and to make sure that your heart is staying open for the people that are going to nurture you and love you and protect you the way that you need to be, and mirror that back to you because you are doing that for yourself, and mirror that back because that's who they tr- that's who they genuinely are, and they're not trying to be performative because you told them how to show up for you, if that makes sense. So I think it's important to understand when it comes to boundaries, being in spaces when you're an empath, I think it's very important to understand boundaries and energetic boundaries most importantly, because as an empath, you take on a lot of people's energy unknowingly, especially if you're not intentionally staying in your own energy, in your own compass. And I think it's important to understand that. So for me personally, how I make sure to stay on my own energy and my own compass no matter where I go, if I'm going to if I were to go to a big event or whatever the case may be, how I would say centered in my own energy is making sure that I'm connecting to my breath, making sure that as I breathe in, I'm connecting to my energy. I'm in my body. I'm in my center. So as I breathe in, I follow my breath through my nose, and I follow my breath through my nose, visualizing where my breath is going, visualizing where that air is going. And as I breathe out, I allow myself to release and let go of energies that are not mine, or I allow that space of me breathing out to be for other people, if that makes sense. So, for example, if you pay attention to, hold on, let me pick this up. If you pay attention to this, it's a plant, right? It's a flower. Practicing meditation and centering yourself when you first get up and right before you go to sleep is also important and essential when you're an empath, or when you pick up on other people's energy. I have It's this one person, his name is Aaron Dowdy, and he has helped me on my healing journey for a long time, and he does something called I forgot what it's called, but meditation or the I'll put the meditation down below in the bio if you're watching me on YouTube. And if you're on my Spotify, make sure that you go to my YouTube and check it out. But basically, it's for you to make sure that you are centering yourself, making sure that in any space, in any dynamic, you're able to be in your own energy and your own presence, and making sure that you're not just allowing anybody's energy into your space. So basically, what you do is, I'm also going to put the link in the description. So make sure that y'all go check that out. But basically, what you do is, as you breathe in, you bring all of your energy inward. So you pay attention to your breath as it goes in, following that in, and as you breathe out, you focus on what's in front of you. So it could be fire, it could be a candle, it could be a plant, it could be whatever whatever works for you. For me personally, I think that you should use the elements in your chart. So for me, I'm a Taurus, so I would use earth. Or in my Venus sign, I'm a Pisces, so I would use water. Or my rising is a Leo, so I would use a candle as fire. So focusing on using your elements is also something that can help you. So doing this before you even connect to other people, I think is essential and is important and can really be helpful. So basically, you breathe in and you connect to your body. The best way you can connect to your body is as you breathe in, making sure that either one, you follow your breath as it goes in, or you can just pay attention to your body and how it reacts from the top of your head, breathing into your whole body from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And as you breathe out, breathe all of that energy out and focus on that one thing that's in front of you. So focusing on everything outside of you or that one thing in front of you, and bringing out the frame of your eyesight and focusing on everything around you. So as I breathe out, I'm focusing on this plant, but I'm also realizing behind it that there is grass and there is a tree, and there is different things of that nature. So I think it's important to understand how to do framework. That is what it's called, framework. Um, Understanding how to use framework and using that throughout the day when you are connecting to different people or connecting to different circumstances or whatever the case may be, making sure that you do breath work to where you are centering your energy. That is how you protect your energy in spaces of big crowds or spaces of people that you are around. Even if it's people that you do want to be around, you still want to make sure that you are holding space for yourself when you're in conversation with somebody else or when you have to be around other people, and making sure that if it's people that you don't want to be around, if it's people that you don't want to connect to, that you are truly breathing in and finding your center. That you are truly breathing in and finding your center, and also making sure that you are keeping those conversations short, keeping that interaction very short. And you don't have to be rude in order to keep a conversation short. You can simply, if they ask you a question, answer that question as simply as possible. If they say hey, just say hey back. Or if you don't want to say hey, just don't say hey. But keep walking. You don't have to be rude, because that is energy. Speaking is energy. Giving people power over you by giving them your anger, or, and I'm not saying do not feel your emotions. I'm saying you do not have to give them your emotions. You can journal, you can intentionally meditate, you can do yoga, you can work out and feel your emotions intentionally through that, but you do not have to share your emotions with that person that hurt you if you know that they are not going to take accountability, if they are not going to truly see you or hear you, unless you feel like it's something that you just need to get off of your chest and you don't care how they come back at you. You just need to get it off of your chest. I think that is important to understand when it comes to boundaries, making sure that you have discernment on what you need to speak up about and what you can keep to yourself and work on within your own emotional space, whether that be journaling, feeling, yoga, meditating, praying, because praying is a powerful tool. Praying is a form of meditation as well, and I think that's important to understand. But I think it's important to understand when it comes to boundaries to stand on them, to understand that it is something that you need. It is not something that can be whimsical, because it's something for your stability, whether that be, like I said, emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever the case may be. It's important to be self aware enough to understand your own emotions and your own needs, and making sure to place boundaries in those spaces to where you stay secure within yourself, and not place boundaries to where it falls on other people to make sure that you are safe and secure, making sure that you speak your boundary out loud or just embody your boundary, because you don't have to tell people all the time how to treat you or how to be there for you. They can tell by the way that you move. And if it's somebody that crosses your boundary and they don't see it by how you move, making sure to say it one time. You know, you only need to say your boundary one time and stand on it, even if it's uncomfortable, because it's somebody that you love or it's somebody that you don't want to get under their skin or whatever the case may be. You can't be afraid of conflict when it comes to protecting yourself and loving yourself and being there for yourself. You have to make sure that the relationship with yourself is the strongest relationship that you have, and anything outside of that follows, because what's in your life mirrors back to you who you are or what you need to see about yourself in order to grow as a person, as an individual. And I think that's important to understand when it comes to boundaries, making sure that you are embodying it, embodying what you say. And if you have to say it because you want to keep a relationship or whatever the case may be, making sure that you only say your boundary one time, because they hear you. They heard what you said, and when you stand on it, they'll hear it even more. But also making sure that you're not using controlling mechanisms or silent treatments or whatever the case may be. Genuinely standing on what you say, saying what you mean and meaning what you say is very important when it comes to boundaries, and also embodying what you say and not just talking or allowing people to treat you any type of way or situations to move you in any direction. Boundaries are about standing in your truth and being who you are and being authentically yourself, and making sure that the space around you is authentically mirroring back to you love and light and peace and protection and whatever you need, and not forcing people to show up as that, but allowing people to be who they are and moving accordingly and placing people where they should be placed. Not everybody needs to be cut off, but sometimes that is necessary, to cut people off in order to be who you need to be, in order to continue to show up as authentically and loving as you are meant to show up as. So sometimes people just need to be placed in a space of, okay, this is the only time I'm gonna hang out with this person, because not everybody is going to be exactly what you want or what you need in every area of your life. You know what I mean? I think it's important to understand, okay, if you like to go out, maybe this friend is not the emotional support system friend. Maybe this friend is just the go out and party friend. And I think it's important to also be clear with your communication with people as well so that they know where they stand in your life. So that go out and party friends should know that that is who they are, so that they can have the option on whether they want to continue to be your friend or not, if that's all they are to you, if that makes sense. I think it's important to understand, to be clear with your communication with people, and let them know who they are in your life, and not allow them to assume who they are, but show them who they are, because that puts you in a space of also being able to be safe in your connections, and also allowing them to be safe in connection with you, because they're clear on who they are in your life, and they're clear on what you are going to put up with or what you are going to accept. I think it's important to be clear and honest with yourself, most importantly, because you can't be clear and honest with somebody else if you're not clear with yourself. And I think it's important to understand, when you are that with yourself, when you're clear and honest and real with yourself, people can't get anything past you, which also puts you in a space of being safe, because who you are to yourself, you can clearly see in other people. So you can clearly see that this person is fake or not showing up genuine, because yourself knows what it feel you yourself know what it feels like to feel genuine energy, because you are genuine energy. So I think it's important to understand that as well. But also just understand where to place different people in your life, and how close you allow different people to you in your emotional space, in your energy, and making it clear to those people where they stand in your life, so there is no mishaps or misunderstandings on what connections are. And you give people the opportunity on understanding whether they want to be in your life or not, or you give yourself the chance to understand whether you truly want to put that person in that position or not, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think that's important to understand when it comes to boundaries. But yeah, I hope y'all like this video. Make sure that y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that y'all stay tuned for my podcast. Make sure you go to my Spotify if you're on my YouTube, and make sure if you're on my Spotify, go to my YouTube and subscribe. And I appreciate y'all for watching. This is Truth's Podcast with your host, True Car.